Well, first of all, thank you for this interview, and how do you feel here in Slovenia?
Oh, wonderful. We've been staying at a beautiful hotel, and we've been very well treated. I'm really enjoying the stay here. It's great.
We can start with questions. Why is cannabis a forbidden cure? Because of its benefits as plant, or because its consumers become problem for political system?
Well, the simple truth is, I mean, the cannabis hemp plant presents a danger to so many big money interests. And the simple truth is, our governments are really not responding, and they're not representing us, properly. And if they were doing this, we would have access to this wonderful medication. Because millions of us worldwide already know that this medicine works. So why are our governments dragging their feet? I mean, it's a sad situation we're in here. And this is part of what I hope to see this Congress solve. So we can get this message to the world, and inform people. I mean, worldwide, there's billions of people suffering and dying for no reason. And we can fix that tomorrow. Now, why don't we?
Well, few authors think that cannabis is forbidden because it's a destroyer of social norms.
Well, it's a destroyer of big money, period. Like the pharmaceutical industry, any of the big the chemical industries, and of course we can't leave out petroleum, because anything that can be produced from hemp or from petroleum can also be produced from hemp. And we don't need to be using these fossil fuels that are poisoning our earth. So these are just some of the big money interests that actually are standing against the public having free access to this plant. We could be self-sufficient. We all could be self-sufficient. A small piece of land, grow some hemp, produce your own food, your own medicine, your own fuel. Be self-sufficient. And that's what they don't want. If we become self-sufficient, they lose control. So that's most of the reason.
You are very well known with hemp oil.
Mm-hmm.
Can you describe process of making it in a few sentences? And for people who want details, we can recommend the documentary Run from the Cure.
Well, first off, I would recommend that you go to our website, and there's a lot of information up on the internet now that shows you, the proper way, and our instructions are right there on the site, the proper way to produce this medicine safely. I freely admit that what we put up on the internet, it's a very crude method, to say the least. But I had to put out, this message in a way that anyone could do it. Most of us have a rice cooker. And, if we have a pound of good medicinal hemp bud and a little bit of solvent, well, guess what? We can cure our cancer. So I kept it simple. But in reality, I feel that these processes, these extractions, actually, they really should be done with distilling equipment in a controlled environment. And that way, it could be done in a perfectly safe manner. And I would also like to stress the fact that when we put up Run from the Cure, we showed right in our video, how to produce the oil. But we also showed that you should always, if you're going to use a rice cooker or a device, of that nature, make sure you have a fan there. You need ventilation. Those fumes, they travel, from the pot and they go down. And if they go down underneath and get in the element, then you could have an explosion or a fire, and you don't want that. If you have the fan, that eliminates that problem. So I apologize for the method, but it does work.
Well, one reader from my portal asked me why on your portal why there isn't new news or your new lectures on a monthly basis, daily basis.
Well, the thing with me is, like for over 2.5 years now, actually in the last 2.5 years, I've been in 18 different countries. We've been in Central America, all over. And internet connections sometimes in some of these countries are not what they should be. So actually, when we were in Honduras, we spent over 6.5 months in Honduras. And I couldn't even do interviews down there. So, the Skype wouldn't work. So you kind of drop out of circulation for a little while, but I've been making up for it since we got back to Europe. I've done, I've give talks in Olomouc in the Czech Republic, And we've done interviews and anything we can do, to spread the word. And I'm just so happy to be here at this event. This is going to change everything. People will see this finally for what it really is. And I hope they come to realize how badly we need this plant and how badly we need this medicine that it produces.
Well, you have all sorts of legal issues about cannabis, as you mentioned, only in Canada. What is your opinion about complete legalization in the future?
Well, I don't think this plant should have ever been made, a criminal offense. This is ridiculous. We've used this plant all through our history. It's never harmed anyone. And then all of a sudden they rename it marijuana and outlaw it. Well, that was all done for the big money. That's the way they wanted it. Unfortunately, they seem to control our governments. So, there we're left. It's a very, very sad situation. I think I missed part of that question.
What is your opinion about complete legalization in the future?
Well, as I said, I don't feel that there was ever a real law that was put in place against the use of this plant. If you look at the way they did things in Canada, in the U.S., it was all based in corruption. There was no, in reality, there is no real law, act, or statute that even makes any sense in regards to hemp. This is a God-given plant that's harmless in nature. We've grown it for thousands of years. It's been a great benefit to man, and we let them outlaw it because the big money wants to make more big money. I think it's time we called a halt to this madness.
Your skin cancer was cured with hemp oil. Why scientists won't do necessary research on you if they are so convinced that your statement is incorrect?
Well, I've just about given up on the medical systems. I think the doctors are terrified of this substance. But the simple truth is, and I say this many times when I do interviews, don't believe a word I'm saying. Please, go home or go to a local dealer and get yourself a pound, or not a pound, just an ounce or half an ounce of good hemp bud. Then simply follow our instructions on the website, produce the oil, find somebody with a skin cancer, a diabetic ulcer, a severe burn, put the oil on, put a bandage on, change the bandage about every 3 days, add new oil, watch what happens. There, you've got your proof. Prove it to yourselves. And that's what's happening worldwide right now. Hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions of people, at this very moment are using this medicine, and they're seeing the results. And their friends and neighbors are seeing these same results. For the governments to continue to run away from this is just madness. And I think this convention we're having here, or this Congress, is going to play a very important role in bringing it to the attention of the governments that we can't go on like this.
We see a lack of political will in almost every state on the world. Why so much? Is it directly corruption or? No. Well, I won't say there isn't corruption in our world. There's plenty of that. But there's also another problem. At first I used to blame the doctors, the lawyers, the politicians. I blamed them all. But then I realized that they were brainwashed with the same nonsense that I was brainwashed with, that we all were. This is marijuana, it'll harm you, and, you'll go on to harder drugs and all this nonsense. And unfortunately, most of us believed it. So I think it's, in many cases, these politicians, I believe they actually believe their own rhetoric. They're just regurgitating, what they've been told. And I think it's time we do some real research into this plant. And that could be a very easy thing to do. Croatian media translated the BBC News in this morning about publishing results from some research which proved that cannabis users lose their intelligence. Scientists can't biologically prove how these users become stupid because they have no evidence.
I can't do this interview. I've lost my intelligence. Did anyone see it?
The question is, why this pseudoscientific news like this become focus of mainstream media like BBC?
Well, the big money owns the mainstream media, so they feed us whatever they want. And the more propaganda and lies they can tell us about this plant from their point of view, the better. Because these are the same people that own the pharmaceutical industries and things like that. Do they want you to know the truth? No. So it's all propaganda.
Why is addiction to the marijuana illegal and addiction to the money and power illegal?
Well, first off, there's no addiction to marijuana. And even governments like the Canadian government admitted that fact in 2000. Absolutely no addiction. I've told many people that the only addictive nature this plant has is when you begin growing it, you can't stop. You know, it's just something you always want to do forever. And I've literally gone insane in the last 3 years because I've been unable, you know, to plant a crop myself. And the truth is, I'm just a simple hemp farmer, you know, who stumbled onto a miracle. And I know this miracle is going to benefit so many people all over the world in the very near future.
Was the cannabis always in your life, or there was some date when you come on it?
No, I was I was not quite so intelligent, I guess, when I was younger. When I was around 20 years old, all my friends began smoking pot. And of course, me being much more intelligent, I stuck with the liquor. And I was in my mid-30s before I even smoked pot. By that time, the hangovers had got so drastic, I mean, I'd be sick for 4 days after one night of drinking. So I switched over to smoking pot. And I found that I could drive my motorcycle safely. I wasn't impaired on the substance. And in my drinking, after getting on the oil, or getting on just smoking the pot, my drinking slowed down dramatically. In a very short time, I hardly drank at all. And so it really fit in with my life wonderfully. And but at that time, I really had no idea about medicinal aspects. This all came much later after my injury. But when you see what this medicine can do for yourself, it's just literally miracles every day, right before your eyes. Things the medical system can't heal, diabetic ulcers, you know, and all these diseases. They're so easy to heal. All we have to do is use the oil. So what right do they have to deny it from us?
For the end, do you have some special message for 4D Portal readers and people in this region?
Well, what I'm asking the people, actually, of the whole planet to do, is actually, why don't we just get together and unite and put an end to this madness? I mean, all we have to do is start using, you know, if we use knowledge and common sense, you know, that's all we have to do. And we can change this world. And we can give, you know, coming generations a future. And, I mean, I'm not asking for revolutions or wars or anarchy. We have to approach this in, you know, in a very sane manner. But if we work together, I honestly think what we have to do, we have to hold these big corporations and these big money interests, we have to hold them to account. They're criminals. They have harmed us. They have been harming us for decades. And, I mean, what would they do if I robbed a bank? The police would catch me, they would imprison me or put me in jail, then I would go to court, and of course, they would take whatever funds I stole from that bank. Well, in many cases, these people are the bankers. And what have they done? They've stolen it from us. So why don't we take the loot back? I'm not saying imprison them or anything like that. Let them go free. But take the power away. Because we see what they're doing to our world, and if we don't stop them, I mean, if we don't wise up very quickly, in no time, we could all wind up going extinct. And that includes other animal life on this planet also. So unite, stand up, let's become one, and let's make our voices heard.
Thank you for this interview.
You're more than welcome.